Thank you all for coming, everybody. It's really nice to see you. Just a simple partner bow, everybody. Hey, Ishmas. I wanted to share with you something I've been thinking about lately. In this time of solo training, there's a lot that you can start to notice about how you move in your own body that you don't tend to notice as much when you have a partner who's, trying to hit you in the head. Usually that takes priority. So, but I think it's really important practice. And I'm in that way, I'm grateful for this time, and I've started to notice a bunch of things that have sort of been on the back burner for a while now. And so I wanted to try something fancy, if you guys will bear with me. The theme for the start of today's class anyway is this idea of stalking versus walking. And the image in my mind when I say stalking is of a big cat that's waiting. So years ago when I was still living in DC, I was walking up to the dojo one day, and Sensei was walking up to the dojo on the sidewalk from the other direction. And he, and we didn't interact, right? It's not like he knew me, but he saw me coming along, and he changed the way he was walking on the sidewalk, right? Instead of just, walking along the way you do, suddenly he was walking along the sidewalk. A little like that. I saw him do it, and I remember it to this day. And it was a way of filling his movement that was extraordinary, and he does it, on the mat, not just Sensei, everybody, right? And so I've been thinking about that. And to that end, this is not slow-mo, this is actual regular speed. So the level of awareness and attention that's filling his body at this moment is fabulous. You know how sometimes Sensei says, attention, and everybody's like, ah, and you feel like your hair stand on end, right? He's like, attention, everybody more focus. And then they're like this, and they start doing stuff like this because they're very focused. And he's like, no, too stiff, relax. And then everybody's like this, and they start doing he's like, no, space out, right? Both times he's trying to describe something more. He's trying to describe the same thing both times, right? And it doesn't involve being stiff, and it doesn't involve being floppy. It involves being fully embodying the moment. And that tiger stalking is a great example. I hope, I think. And so what I was hoping to get to with our first exercise today was something like that. So that's our goal for the moment. But first, we're going to wake up our body a little bit. So a little bit of warm-ups, and we'll move into some movement exercises to try to put our mind in the right frame of mind, and also put our body in the right frame of mind. So everybody up. So, one cue that I find is helpful in having this sort of electric full feeling in my body is remembering all the spaces that are already here, right? So like your hand can just be flat, or you can make it have a space here. And your feet too, right? They can just be flat, or you can make it so they have a space here. And So at least that much. When your feet are on the ground and your hands are here, they don't have to just be doing nothing. They don't have to just be the chunks of meat at the ends of your limbs, right? They can be engaged. Not so much that it looks like you're doing the eagle talon, right? But just engaged. And for that matter, so you want to feel on the floor that your arches, if you can, flex your feet a little so your arches are a little extra arched, right? And your hands too. And when you do that, with your feet on the floor, flex your arches, especially I feel it a little bit in my knees now too, right? Right, because it travels up and then you feel it. And so it turns out there's a space behind your knees that also can be enhanced. Right? And then as you travel up, you get to your hips, and there's a space in front of your hips where there's a little hollow that also can be engaged. Right? And then as you travel further up, there's the space between your hips and your ribs. There's a lot of space there. We use it for breathing. But a lot of times we let it sort of collapse. Or you can sort of engage that part too. So lifting your ribs up out of your hips a little bit. And as you continue up, you reach your shoulders and your armpit. And there's a hollow here that can be engaged, and also on the front of your shoulder. Right? Boom, boom. And as you travel, and your neck has a space here, and the back of your neck, where your neck meets your skull, also is a space that can be engaged. Your palms, the inside of your elbow, the inside of your shoulder, all the way up. So just standing here, you can sort of extend of your vertical axis, traveling and engaging all these spaces as you go. So when you engage the space instead of engaging the musculature, it has a completely different feeling. More like you're a conduit and less like you're a tool to be used. Right? So with that, sort of try to keep that feeling in mind, and up. Inhale, exhale. And you do this, again, opening the front, like pretend your rib cage is a thing that can open like this. And then when you reverse it, the front closes and the back opens, right? Still trying to keep the feeling of space in at least in the palms of your feet, palms of your hands and the soles of your feet. And the other way. And again, each of these exercises is meant to help, in today's example anyway, to help accentuate the space, right? So sometimes when we do a stretch like this, the tendency is to sort of contract. See, like this? But instead, what you're looking for is use this as a chance to draw your hips to the back, draw your head to the front. Use it as a chance to elongate the space, the distance between your hips and your head, rather than to crunch it. You're actively stretching those places, expanding those places. And this time, turn your toes to the ceiling. So, oh, sorry. Fix this a little bit. So this one, make your feet in a V. Let the heels come up. But instead of, again, crunching over like this, try to keep your top half, you're vertically engaged. And if it's okay for your knees, then swivel and open your front hip so your knee goes forward and down. Okay, so your hip will open. Right, I keep my weight here and I just extend my knee. I'm not lurching forward or putting weight on my knee. Like I stay here and I just like you just wanted to reach out and touch half the floor. And then try the other side. Reach out and just. Again, while keeping a good vertical alignment and a lot of space here between your hips and your ribs. So it doesn't get like this. Right, so in all of these exercises, you're hoping to keep it so that the purpose of the exercise supports the idea that we're trying to have our upper body sort of expanded and floating on top, and the action is on the bottom half. So, okay, so the next thing I would like you guys to try, do you have a, so is this, just as when we're on our knee, when we're down, right, you sort of just reach out and touch with your knee without putting any weight. Same thing is true here, standing. So reach out and touch with your toe without putting any weight. So if you do that and you keep your weight back here, there's really only so far you can reach. So I wanted to, in Trace Sensei's class, he was having us go from side to side, right? And he had us lower a little bit first, not crunch, but just the bottom half lower and reach. You guys remember this one? Switch to the other side and come up. Lower a little bit, you can reach further and come up. Depending on your comfort level with your joints today, which could be different from yesterday, right? You may lower more or less. You may only travel a little. It's totally fine. That's not the point. The point is keep your vertical alignment. Sort of feel with your toe where you're going. If you were in a dark room, feel where your toe where you're going. Transfer your weight. Feel with your other toe on the way up and rise. So I believe this is similar to the one we did with Trace Sensei when he was here. But a piece I would like you guys to add to it is this. When you lower a little bit and you reach and your toe goes, that far, reach just a little further. So just let it slide a little extra on your way over. Should give you an extra couple inches, maybe an extra, I don't know, see how much you get out of it. Point is, it's different from before. go this much. Reach a little extra. Normally you can reach this far, that's fine. So now just reach a little extra. Now when you do that, you're going to start to lose your balance just a little bit, right? You're now committed to going this way. It's unrecoverable, right? This much is recoverable. You can just bring your foot back. A little extra, now I have to go. So my step becomes committed. And it goes, I can reach this much, I reach a little extra, I become committed. So the walk Sensei showed me that day on the sidewalk was a little like that, but he wasn't walking sideways, right? So for this, normally you're walking regular. So if we try the same exercise on the forward and back, try to get I have tile on my floor, so I have a line built into the floor, but try to get a single line that you can walk on, like a Marabashi line, right? And first of all, without lowering yourself at all, just standing upright, reach, touch with your toe, and you put back. Okay, so this is as far as you can go without committing your weight, right? Just that much. Then you can, next step is you can lower yourself a little bit, reach a little bit further, okay. Then you can go. Next, here's a piece that doesn't exist in the side to side so much, and that's contra body movement, right? So if you're, so contra body movement is like when you walk your left foot forward, your right hand swings, right? So your body has a natural twist to it as you walk, right? A natural spiral. Boom. So this, so if you think about that, so then when you say you're stepping with your left foot forward, if we accentuate that twist just a little, it means your right shoulder will be forward. So as you lower yourself, you twist just a little bit. Right? So my body's not square to the front anymore. Now it's twisted just a little. When you do this, you can reach a little bit further. Right? So we want to be able to lower ourselves, try the contra body movement, and reach a little further. Does that make sense? Or am I talking in tongues here? Okay, good. So let's just try a few. We're going to go back and forth. So say you're starting with your, reaching with your right foot. If you're reaching with your right foot, your left side will be a little bit twisted forward. Your right hip will actually go a little bit back. And as you sink, you sort of spiral a little bit into the ground. But from this position, you can reach and commit yourself to the next step. When you do this, right, so you're not stepping in the air, right? Your foot's just grazing the surface of the floor. It allows you to cover much more distance using the bottom half of your body without getting any hint of it in the upper half of your body. So it's sneaky. Imagine if you were wearing a hakama, no one would ever know. You can do it going forwards and backwards. So here I am straight. Here I am a little bit spiraled. Here I am sliding, step, switch. here's the application that, one of the applications, other than Sensei walking on the sidewalk, that I remember seeing many times. If you have a weapon handy of any kind, we're not going to swing it, so you don't need a lot of space, but we're just going to hold it. A sword would be great if you got one. If you're facing off with somebody, right, and we're both in kamae, it is often the case that there's some jockeying that happens at the beginning, right? So you don't want to just be walking around like this. Nobody will take you seriously, right? But if your attention is focused forward on your partner and your sword needs to remain completely on target without wavering in the least, but you need to move forward and back, and you don't want to limit yourself to regular steps, then you might do it like this. And that's true if you're in regular kamae, you often see it from this position. Here, here, here. So in that particular application, right? If you're in the straight kamae, or if you're in the angled position, right? Either one, you're trying to maintain the top half of your body completely focused and the quiet and unchanging, right? Like the tiger, who's right here the whole time, but his bottom half is moving. But the top half, like from here up, is just completely unchanged, completely focused, unblinking, unchanging, and the bottom half just goes. So for us, the top half is like, say, from the waist up, give or take, here. The bottom half goes, right? And so if you need to cover some distance, like maybe you only need to take a little step, maybe you need to take a bigger step, maybe you really need to take a big step in order to maintain ma'ai with your partner, right? But from the sword up, from the knot up, right? That part needs to stay focused on them, and it, right? You can't be walking around and having this going on. Like, that's not cool, right? So wherever you've got it, that part needs to stay, even as the rest of you goes. And of course, it's true in open hand too, but it's more obvious when you were holding a stick because you can look at it and see what it's doing. So this type of movement you can see in a lot of places: open hand work, weapons work, many different senseis, and in tigers. So this. And it's not muscular, right? You have to be sufficiently open and flexible that this movement is even possible. So bringing your attention to that, like we go back to open hand now, right? Again, the space. Here's another good example. You know the story of the Marubashi, the log bridge across the ravine? So when I was a student in DC, Sensei actually built a log bridge for them to practice on. I mean, only 2 people could use it at a time, but it was about as big as a balance beam, but only a few inches off the floor. And whether you had a weapon or whether you just had open hand, you needed to be able to stay right on that spot without looking, maintain a good solid balance, and give the appearance of being, at least of being completely unconcerned about falling off, right? So for that, you have to bring awareness to your feet and your legs and your balance, and you have to trust that those will stay where they're supposed to. And then you have to let your top half be unconcerned because it needs to worry about whatever's coming next. So the exercise, the homework, if you would like to practice this and you don't happen to have a log bridge, is to get some masking tape and make a line on your floor about 4 inches wide and however long you can, and see if you can walk on it. I got a cool example if I can make it come up. Have you guys seen this one? So in particular, if you notice when they are walking backward, back to their position, check it out. Yeah, there. That's the thing I'm talking about. The tiger, Sensei, Frank, like 100% here. So this is the thing I have in mind, right? So in order to do it, it's not just mechanics. Like you can practice the mechanics with your weapon or without. Lower yourself, twist your body, step, and then reach a little further, this sneaky step. Like so, normally you go to here and then a little extra, while still controlling my weight as long as possible. And switch. Right, so you can practice this, and practicing it on a line is even better, because that way you know if you're, wobbling around a lot, but you don't want that. Do it holding a stick. If you have outdoor weapons practice, this is something you can do from a distance with a partner. One person going forward and the other person going back, and trying to match speed. We used to do it in the dojo matching tips, right? So you just match your tip with your partner, and then have to try to maintain that. As a, but in every case, right, the point isn't that you're doing some kind of special weapons technique. Although for sure, it's the underpinning of all of your weapons technique. The point is you're training your body to be the way that you want it. So, so this is one of the points of focus that I've been sort of trying to figure out, think about more deeply, and put into my my regular movement so that it's always there. There's tons of open hand applications too with partners and stuff like that. So be assured that if you build this into your habit, then it certainly will be useful. One other piece about that I really liked, which doesn't lend itself to a class, but goes with the idea, is this dynamic stillness, right? When a tiger's on stalking, and sometimes it'll crouch down and just like lie down and not move. But it's not, lounging, right? It's like filled with energy and attention, even though it's completely still. So this, for us, the place where I notice that the most is when we have this sort of coiled spring dynamic going on, right? If you're just standing there with your sword or your hanmi, that's one thing. But if you're standing there and you have this sort of coiled spring idea, and you don't have to express it so much on the outside of your body, you can just sort of have that feeling inside your body, right? If you still have that feeling, it's completely different than if you're just standing here, like waiting for the bus. Completely different. And so that piece I notice a lot, even when you're not moving, if you can maintain this energy feeling, this stalking feeling, then it's night and day. The other place I've noticed it a lot, dynamic stillness, this concept of dynamic stillness, is when I'm taking ukemi. Right, so if you're taking ukemi for, say you're taking ukemi for Aikido Sensei, and you're standing there, you've grabbed him and you're waiting because he's talking about something or getting ready to show something, right? So if you just stand there like, okay, I'm standing here, I've grabbed, that's it. Like, dude, that's not going to work. And he'll put you down and not pick you up again, right? But if you're like, you have this dynamic stillness, like you're a coiled spring just ready to be released and go somewhere. Like it feels very different for the sensei or the Uranage, right? It feels very different. And that is not particularly something that requires movement. It's something that requires attention. And so bringing your attention to your movement is like huge. Anyway, so that's one of the things I've been working on. Next week, if you decide to join again, we're going to work on you swinging the feeling. Instead of the core dynamic stillness, we're going to move more. We'll be learning to convert straight line momentum into round momentum and vice versa with swinging movements. Hami change. Hami change is the basic movement that it's built around, but it's like some people change Hanmi just by, changing Hanmi and nothing really happened. So you can do it so that nothing happens, and then you can do it so that a lot happens. And so that'll be the thing for next time, if you're interested. Oh, I almost forgot we have to bow out. Domo arigatou gozaimashita.
どうもありがとうございました。